I mean, at this point, with Cyberpunk 2077, at this point, it has gone beyond.
As I
It,
said, I really can't. I can't go on a hate shot with on 2077 without hating on the people that hacked them.
well, I mean, at this point, okay, look, listen. They put out a game that should have been had another 2 year, at least 18 months, so a year and a half, um,
Hmm.
of development in four. So it should have had 5.5 to 6 years development. They put it out in 4. I mean, that's for the game to be as stable as it is, uh, that's actually pretty impressive. Um,
At least for one system.
well, I mean, if you have it on PC, but that was the lead platform, and I know people get mad at me when I say that, but I mean, like CD Projekt Red is a PC developer. That's their lead. That's what they're good at. That's their lead platform. So people who are expecting it to run all that well on the PS4 and the Xbox One and the PS5 and the Xbox
To be honest with you, I just hope for it to be decent.
Series X. I don't know what to say to you. I mean, it's kind of like this, right? It's like when I hear people say, "Well, you can just emulate that in the Dolphin emulator." Let me tell you something.
Dolphin, are you serious?
I have not seen a Nintendo like once you go beyond the SNES. The N64 emulators are hit and miss, and none of those games are emulated perfectly. The same thing with the GameCube emulator, the Dolphin, and the Wii, the GameCube and the Wii, and even the Wii U. Like those, yeah, you can play them with a Dolphin emulator, but it's just not even.
But it's not as optimized.
It's not close to what the original hardware is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like, and for me, I don't want to play that. I don't like that downgrade in quality of performance. Some people, they can deal with it. They're like, well, I can play this game with really awesome graphics, and I'm okay with
Hmm.
that. But for me personally, I'm just not really. How can I put this nicely without sounding like a dick? Um, for me personally, I'm just not really into the whole, um, like, like I'm not against emulating consoles because I mean, if you want to play an N64 game or a GameCube game on the original hardware, you'll have an easier chance of getting a GameCube than working N64 at this point. And if you do, it's going to be prohibitively expensive. And it's not like Nintendo is making these games easy to get a hold of because they aren't. So, I mean, at this point, if you want to play those games, there's no virtual console for GameCube. There's no Nintendo Online library for N64. You can play some of the greatest hits on the Nintendo, on the NES and SNES library, but even those are paltry compared to the virtual console on last gen systems. So really, if you want to play these games, your only real choice is either to get the old systems and hope that the online hasn't been taken away, or emulate. And emulation for NES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, even 3DS is great. SNES, N64 is hit and miss. Some games run well, some games not so much. But the GameCube, like even the best emulators aren't really that good. Same thing with the Wii, the Wii U. I'm not
Hmm.
against emulation, but uh, most of it is not that good.
Yeah, for me, emulators are just convenient because I don't have the I don't have the space to hook up all my consoles.
Yeah, I
But
mean, I have the space. I just don't feel like switching out all that stuff. Like
yeah,
my workaround, like my level of emulation for my consoles is this. Like I choose 3 consoles to hook up to my TVs because I have a CRT and it's a CRT big screen hybrid. So it does CRT analog and digital and HD. And then I have like my big screen for my more modern consoles. And the way I deal with it is, I just kind of like I have 3 consoles hooked up at any given time, plus whatever modern like console the generation I'm playing the most, and that's it. Because I'm not switching out consoles all the goddamn time and taking them upstairs, taking them downstairs, unbundling all those damn wires, hooking everything up, taking the, it's a pain in the ass. So really, for most
I
of
was
my,
gonna say, at most, I imagine that you do that monthly.
not even monthly, I do it once, maybe every 4 or 5 months. I'll switch out consoles because really,
Dang, I called it that you switched out rarely.
rarely, like maybe once or twice a year. For me, EverDrives are my best friend. EverDrives are my best friend because basically I can copy all of my games using a ripper onto an EverDrive and just play my games on the original hardware, but with an EverDrive. It's great. Like I have a SNES Ultra Cart EverDrive type device that basically has all of my SNES games and their save files plus my Japanese Famicom games that I've basically patched using a patcher and put on there too. So I can play all those games in glorious English that never got translated on the original hardware, and I'm happy about that. That's good enough for me. I don't need all that other shit. I don't need all that stuff. So before we go any further, let's have everyone introduce themselves, starting with the lady first, as always.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. I am Joe Eli Moonstar for the BS Special of the Week podcast, and if you're looking for Anthem's revival, I don't think Phoenix Down is gonna help.
Yeah, that shit dead. They took it out back and shot it in the head.
As I said, there's no Phoenix Down for that.
Shot it in the head and then doused it with gasoline and lit a match. Go ahead.
Koskoshi Abominito, here to say tomorrow's the last day of February. Thank God. It's the longest month of the year. It's the longest month of the year and has the least amount of days.
I don't know. I like February. But then again, my birthday's in February, so kind of.
Same here.
Obviously, I'm gonna like the month I was born, because if I didn't like it, I'd be dead, or not here. I always found it amazing.
I was gonna say soulless would be the word.
Well, I always find it amusing when I talk to when I used to talk to other adults and my parents, and they'd be like, "Well, how would you feel if we didn't have you?" I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be alive. Like, it's really hard for me to feel bad about something that, if it happened, I wouldn't exist. So, it's like, how would you feel if you weren't alive? I wouldn't feel anything. It's like, because you're not alive.
It's logic.
It's like when people say, how would so-and-so feel at their funeral? They're dead. They feel nothing. They are gone. Whether they've moved on to the afterlife. Once you're dead, it's over. The game is through. You're all out of mans. You ain't got no one-ups. It's over. Okay? Time to move on to something else. But anyway, yeah.
Let's not forget our owner and proprietor.
Yeah, me, Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor, BS Busters. So we have a few news stories, and we have some news stories that I'm sure are going to make Jewel Rider Moonstar feel a certain kind of way. So we'll let her get her angst out of the way first. So Game Freak had an announcement earlier this week.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. And I'm just gonna throw my opinion in the ring. They announced a remake that looks like one of the sorriest fucking remakes I've ever seen before in my life.
Hey, if anything, I at least appreciate it a lot more than the graphics that they're doing now.
I'm not gonna get into it, but that is a sad, like, if you were gonna remake it with the technology they have access now and the engines they have access now, why play it so safe with a remake of this game? If they were going to do a remake, why not just from the ground up just do like a major overhaul grand remake?
Oh,
thing is,
no, 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 no. After what they pulled off with the last piece of BS that that they would call a remake for
I mean,
Generation 7, I'm
the
not trusting it
their
to be
last
going.
remake sucked. Alpha Ruby and Sapphire remake
I
sucked,
was gonna
but I mean,
I was gonna say the Gen 7 remake, which I'm putting in quotes,
the
would be the
Ruby
Ultra games.
the Ruby and Sapphire, yeah, but were those really remakes?
I call them barely upgrades.
I mean, those
Eh,
felt more
or
like, oh
remake.
shit, here's shit we forgot to add to the base game. Here you go. And we
Yeah,
can get
that's
these dumbasses to buy this shit again. That's what that was.
if
What were we gonna
anything
say,
the
Kenoshi? I'm sorry to cut you off. What were we gonna say,
I was
Kenoshi?
gonna say they should really get some hire some people that are familiar with console games because
hmm,
I know they've been lacking on the console front lately. It seems
Yeah.
like
that's the thing. They
other
hired
people
someone
can react.
to help make this game.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like the main team is working on on the the Pokemon Generations Arceus game, and the a side team is working on the shitty ass remake. And yeah, look, listen, okay. To me right now, like what they've shown, I'm like, this is so fucking unambitious as a remake. You're on a console now. Yeah, I know this. Okay, the Switch is more of a handheld than it is a console, but it basically has the power of a console from last gen. So why are you holding it back by doing this half? I mean, let's keep it real. This was
Hmm.
probably slated to come to the 3DS, and they took that code and ported it over to the Switch.
I, I would say that would be Generation 8's Sword, Shield, and Slap.
I personally think that they were gonna make a. I think they were gonna make this Gen 4 remake years ago, but um,
Hmm.
like they were gonna make it for the 3DS, and then they shelved it to work on Sword and Shield for the Switch, and now they're like, okay, we need to get another game out so we can keep on bringing in money. Okay, we'll just hand this code over to these people and they'll port it over to the Switch. I think that this is just a. I think that they originally were going to make this for the 3DS, and then they took that source code and ported it up to the Switch. I don't think this was made for the ground up for the Switch. I don't believe it.
Hmm. I see a lot more hope for the remake than the new game. I'm just saying that right now.
I personally don't really give a fuck about either one. To be honest with you. I don't care about I don't care about the new game or the remake because eh, I just
Hmm.
I have my bag of fucks to give are empty. Been empty for a while now. Got no fucks left
I
to give.
get you. So for me, I'm the one that has to be given that because well, seeing how seeing how bad a company is acting when when they have made your favorite game, you had to honestly and physically groan that they're doing such BS. It it starts to drive a bl- drive a hard stick up your rear end, saying that you are that you're so hating this and you want to see it better, but you know it's gonna get worse.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just don't really have much hope for this game. It'll probably be great. A lot of people will probably buy it and it'll make money. But
Hmm.
I've pretty much written off um,
Pokemon as a whole. For me,
Pokemon as a whole, so I don't really give a shit at this point.
yeah, for me, I'm trying to, I'm just trying to stop people from buying the bad practices, so they straighten their f up.
Yeah, but as long as they continue to make money at minimum effort, Like, as long as people will buy these half-ass remakes that do nothing new or interesting, and these games that are so safe and they don't take any risks whatsoever, as long as people just don't really continue to, gobble up this shit, they have no incentive to do better. You know.
And there, and that's why I feel like I'm already on the uphill battle.
Like, the Pokemon Company is like a dude who's fucking around on his girl, right? And she caught him, and instead of holding him accountable for doing the shit, and there being some type of repercussions, she kind of lets it slide. Like, if there's no repercussions for doing fucked up shit, and you let everything slide, then they're gonna keep on doing it. You know.
Yeah.
It's like, if there's no repercussions for people doing fucked up shit, and they just, they get, as a matter of fact, they get rewarded for it. It's like, yeah, he was cheating on me. Yeah, he gave me the STI, but I love him, and I let him come back in the house and have sex with me, and like literally, he paid no penalty really for doing this. Then, if you expect that behavior to change, it's not going to. Okay, so. If the Pokemon Company is rewarded, people buy these mediocre ass remakes, these games that do nothing new with the formula whatsoever, over and over again. What do you expect? I mean, at this point, at this point, I don't even blame the company. I blame the people who keep on buying their games, even though even some of the most diehard fans are like, this shit's getting stale. Well, stop buying it, and they'll change. I mean,
Yes, I did that, and I did this since Generation 7, and I know Red Fox is going to get on my case saying it took me that long to get off the train, but yes, because I saw how bad it would get when I was trying to say that there's hope if they change it either during the remakes or have a sign of change during Gen 7 starting development. And since it did neither, I quit during Gen 7.
Yeah, I kind of. No, go ahead, Kenoshi.
Yeah, Pokemon was just a short-lived phase. I stopped playing Pokemon, I think after Yellow, because it kept coming out with games every year, and there are other games I would much rather spend my limited funds on than the next Pokemon game.
I can understand that. I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, you didn't. As a kid, you didn't get a lot of money. It was either little amounts here and there for chores, birthday or Christmas money, and there were other games that were worth,
$30-$40. Yeah, because Pokemon games even back then on the Game Boy, Pokemon games were like $34.99 back in the day.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, there's so many other games you could get for $34.99 for a Game Boy back then. I was like, the thing that got me with Pokemon is I was like, okay, like, why would I get, red or blue when I can wait and get yellow where you get more Pokemon? Like, you can get all three starters, because I never use Pikachu. I know they lead you in yellow to like, oh, you should keep Pikachu with you. Even back then, I thought Pikachu was a shitty ass Pokemon, so I'd get him out of my team and put his ass in the box, motherfucker, and just go with my three, classic starters from Red and Blue, and then build a super team around them, and that worked out pretty well. But like, then they stopped even releasing the third version that kind of combined the best aspects of the other two versions. And then, it's like, for me, the straw that broke the camel's back for me in Pokemon was those shitty Alpha,
Omega Ruby,
and Alpha Sapphire. That was where I was like, okay, so you're gonna make a remake that has less content than the original game and charge more for it, because those games were like $49.99 if I remember correctly. They weren't $39.99. They were $50 plus tax, over $50 plus tax. And I'm like,
I don't know. I
you're
think
gonna
they
charge
should
me
probably.
more for some shit that has less content? Fuck you. That was the moment where I was like, yeah, fuck you. We're done.
This whole everybody comparing this new Pokemon game they're coming out with next year to Breath of the Wild. I really think they should have waited at least couple more years to make this, just so it doesn't look like they were just pushed into making it because everybody was hoping that the last game that they came out with was
Was
that.
gonna be
And it's
awesome,
just
and it wasn't. It
yeah,
was just some
yeah.
lazy, lackadaisical shit that they threw together with content missing that they could later sell you as DLC and an expansion pass. I mean, and look, this
I mean,
is
I know Nintendo games usually look pretty rough when they first show them, but this one looked extra extra
Arf.
rough compared to a lot of Nintendo uh, compared compared to a lot of other Nintendo reveal games. This one looked extra rough.
yeah. I didn't watch the announcement. I heard about it after the fact. They were like, yeah, this is the information. I'm like, okay, because I'm not spending my time watching that shit. I got other things to do with my day. Um, and I know, you're like, what could you be doing with your day? You're working from home, and when you're not working, you're just sitting around doing stuff. Yeah, but I mean, that's still better than watching a fucking Pokemon announce direct. But anyway, at least to me. Yeah, I read about it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I would
And
say
you know what?
no, go ahead.
You know what? People are gonna buy. The
Oh yeah.
Diamond and Pearl remake.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna sell hotcakes.
I mean, yeah, they're basically going to spend. I think they might sell that for $50 or $60, probably $60. You're paying $60, the price of a AAA game, for a game that looks like a up-res 3DS Pokemon game.
Like it's for all the bitching people do online when it comes to certain franchises like Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed or even Pokemon. It's like it's like no the more you complain, the more they end up selling anyway. So
Yeah,
you're better off just not saying anything,
I just kind of gave
not
up.
giving it any attention.
I gave up. Like
Hmm.
Pokemon Company isn't going to make a game that's going to be interesting to me because I'm in the minority, and that's okay because there's other shit that I can play to scratch that Pokemon itch, like Tim Tim or Nexamon or Monster something or other. The name
Yeah.
kind of escaped me, but it's
So if anything, I try to at least speak up to say that this game series could be better, and yet people keep on complaining about people like me complaining.
yeah. Because you should just listen. They're shitting in your mouth. You should just take it because it's Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's base. I mean, look, I know that people who are fans of Pokemon, that's not actually what um it actually is, but that's what it comes across as me because I can clearly see like shit that other people complain about other companies doing, Pokemon Company is doing, and they're just ignoring it or trying to explain it away.
Yeah, and this is coming from somebody that's a Nintendo fan of all things, that try to understand what the heck they're doing, which isn't easy at times. It makes me look at Pokemon Company like you are one you are one of the no, you are the biggest group you are the biggest IP in the world. You have all this money. Even Nintendo is worried about you at times. And
Well,
I,
I would go that far because I mean Nintendo's doing the same shit, just not to as great as a degree. They're both
yeah,
doing shady shit that we would complain about, third parties and other first party companies doing, and we're like, well, at least Nintendo doesn't do that fucked up shit, and now they're doing it, and it would be
I'm
disingenuous for
starting
me
to
to
actually
jump
worry
on,
about that. But here's
other
the thing.
companies and then let Nintendo go just because I like their games. I do like
Yeah,
their
but
games, but
I was gonna say that if anything, it's getting to the point that I'm starting to actually feel scared that that the Pokemon Company specifically is too big for its own britches, and they need to get some heavy restraints in.
Well, I don't think it's that bad. I think eventually they're going to come up with a game that's going to bomb, and when that happens, they'll, hopefully they'll learn their lesson.
I
Knock
mean,
on wood.
people I talked to who aren't, knee deep in the stuff, legitimately like the last Pokemon game,
Yeah,
and legitimately like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee.
yeah.
So
I mean, there are people who like that stuff, and so that's what I'm saying. Eventually, they will make a game that bombs, and then they'll correct. The thing is like, it's gonna take a while for them to get to that point where they're like, okay, you know, they make a game that bombs, and then they have to correct. So, how
It has to
long?
be a mega bomb at this point, because they're near another kind of
Well,
money slot.
it's gonna have to be something that bombs critically, and not so much commercially, but critically. It has to be like universally reviled. Once that happens, then they're gonna be like, oh shit, we gotta do better.
Universally reviled. Wouldn't that mean that that sells so little as well?
No, well,
Because
I mean, there are things that are universally reviled that people don't like, but they buy. I mean, there are a lot of people who are tired of Madden's bullshit, but they buy it regardless because they want to play with their friends. Because a lot of people, for some
that's a
reason,
peer pressure trap.
always want to play with their friends.
yeah,
I mean,
man's like 500 years old at this point, so they still sell games.
they're like, I want to
I don't
play.
know how.
I want to play with my friends. I want to play this online with my friends. And I'm like, look, there's so many games that are better to play online with your friends than Madden, FIFA, NBA Live, NBA 2K, stuff like that. But, to each his own. Everyone, like, here's the thing. That's the wonderful thing about the world is that um, everyone has their own taste and everyone's not the same. That's the wonderful thing about the world is that everyone is not the same. Everyone has their own things going on. So,
I could agree on that. The thing is, for me, that there's a difference between different tastes and pure out facts, which makes me wonder if people are seeing the same thing.
well, that's the thing. People have different viewpoints. The only thing you can do is make your case, state your point, and back it up with some type of facts and, you know, some type of facts and figures, and hope that they'll either see where you're coming from and at least acknowledge that you have a point or not, and then you just kind of do the best you can, you know. Speaking of bullshit ass presentations, we also had another info drop this week from
Oh,
Sony.
PlayStation.
Oh my.
We'll be bringing more of our games to PC.
See that
That's what
segue
they
right
said,
there?
man.
You see
Yeah.
that segue right there? See how I just kind of slid on in there? So the thing that I
That,
learned,
that was a smoother entry than some action
yeah,
movies.
I was about to say, I was about to use some type of dirty joke, but I was like, nah, you're better than this. You're better than this, Fox. You're better. Not all the time, but this time you're better than that. Basically, so Sony had their state of play. It was short, thank God. Previous years' state of plays have been like, hour and a half, 2 hours. You know,
I was
uh,
gonna say, hopefully it was 30 minutes or less.
yeah, it was only around 30, 35 minutes. So I mean, you can actually sit there and listen to it, and it's not like, oh my God, will these people ever stop talking? Um, but that's where the praise is kind of falls off. So let me. I will share my screen with you guys and show you what the state of play uh, did this year. State of play announcements. Because there's going to be some problems. I have some problems.
I was about to say, Technical difficulties?
No. I mean, I have some problems with the announcements, not technical difficulties.
Oh,
Let me screen
I was hoping
share
that if
this.
anything that you're having technical difficulties, so you could spare them the cringe.
Yes. So anyway, the first thing is that SquareSoft has announced a little bit of DLC for Final Fantasy VII, where you get to play as Yuffie, everyone's uh, least favorite ninja that no one gave a shit about in the original game. Anyway, they were like, "Oh shit, I gotta level up this piece of shit." Ugh.
Was she a
Hey,
really useless character?
Yuffie, I mean,
She's not she's not entirely useless, but she
she's
has
only
one of the most annoying
mostly
lines.
she's only mostly useless. See, here's the thing. By the time you get the party back together again, you have like by the time you get like after the second act of the game, and you get the party back together again, and everyone comes together. You essentially at that point have pretty much like created your core team of characters that you're sticking with for the rest of the game. And Yuffie joins,
Yeah.
and it's like you have no like literally like if I had gotten access to you like 10-15 hours ago, maybe 20 hours
Yeah.
ago, you may have been a useful character to level up, but you serve no purpose. Your magic sucks, you're fast, but I can equip other characters with equipment and accessories and materia that basically will give them higher speed, so I don't need you. You're useless.
Yeah.
I usually give her disc 1, so if anything, I usually turn her from basically nothing to be used to the quick healer of the group.
No, like okay, I don't mean when you first get her. I mean there's a point in Final Fantasy VII where essentially
Around
the party is
around the
split
end of
up.
disc 2 and 3, right?
The party is split up, and all those characters go off on their own little things, except for like Cloud and like some other character. I think Cloud and Tifa, right? And you discover more about Cloud and what he truly is and all that shit. Then you start getting the rest of the party back together again in order to go through the last act of the game, where it really opens up. You can go on all those side quests to get the best weapons. Ironically, grinding to get the best weapons makes you so powerful that you don't really need the best weapons. The game is really imbalanced. But anyway, but by the time everyone comes together, you've already established your core group of characters that you're going to use for the rest of the game, for your end game. Like you've already started building that core team together. So by the time you get Yuffie in that last section, it's like the characters, your core team of characters are like 10, 15, 20 levels higher than she is, joining back into the party. And it's like, I don't feel like wasting my time leveling you up. That's my point. She's a useless character by the time she gets back into the party at that point.
Well, I just hope if they're gonna milk this cow, I hope they take it to slaughter before they over farm this cow.
Oh no, they're gonna milk this teat until the only thing coming out is powdered milk.
Yeah.
That's.
I mean, when I saw that, I was just really disappointed in the whole. It's like, oh, so they're gonna drag out.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring the second part. This is getting retarded.
They're gonna do all types of little DLCs to keep on milking people who have this hard-on for a game that wasn't that good in the first place, and they're just gonna keep on just bit by bit, piece by piece, because Square Enix realizes that they can make a ton of money milking these nostalgic fools over this shitty ass game. Because
if you're gonna do this,
I keep it real. No, go ahead.
Can't we do this to a Final Fantasy game that's actually good, like Final Fantasy VI?
No, because Final Fantasy VI is actually good. You shouldn't remake a game that's actually really good. It's like it's kind of like this. Hollywood doesn't make remakes. Every time Hollywood makes a remake of a good movie, like a movie that's really good, that movie bombs. Like they did, remember when they did that remake of The Thing? Well, it wasn't a remake; it was a prequel. right? And it was terrible. Like people universally hated it. People don't like remakes of good shit. People like remakes. The only time a remake of a good thing works is if you wait a long time before you do a remake. Like you have to wait at least 30 years. And considering that Final Fantasy VII is now like almost 25 years old, or not, like over 20 years old, so might be time.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. And they're porting over Final Fantasy VII, the remake, to PS5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now you too can enjoy a bastardized version of Final Fantasy VII on your PS5.
We already have problem
people,
with Dirge of Cerberus.
I heard people complain about how characters in that game don't act like they're, don't necessarily act like they did in the original version.
Of course not, because there's been years of added character development with all those fucking anime spin-offs and shit. Because people forget, in the original game, Cloud is a block of wood. Right? And there's a legit gameplay reason as to why he's basically acting like he has no emotions and no memories. It makes sense in the like as you play the game and the story unfolds, okay? But then then Square Enix, because they made Final Fantasy Spirits Within and it almost bankrupted the fucking company, they had to make their money back, so they released all this fucking extra content in order to explain away how bad the character development was in Final Fantasy VII. Because really, every other character has an interesting backstory. Like every other character has a somewhat interesting backstory except for Cloud and Tifa. Their backstories suck, but Barrett has an interesting side story. Vincent has an interesting side story. Sid has an interesting backstory. Red 13 has an interesting backstory.
We got a sad backstory with the flower girl, of course.
Well, I mean, Eris doesn't really have a backstory because she gets killed at the end of the first act. As a matter of fact, she's the major impetus for Cloud to stop being a block of wood with no emotions. Then you get who else has an interesting even Yuffie has an interesting backstory. Kate Sith kind of has an interesting backstory. The only characters who really don't have an interesting backstory, or at least it's not sold very well, is Tifa and Cloud Strife. That's it. I mean, that's not too bad to have 7 characters and only 2 of them have shitty backstories. It's not that bad.
Say, that's 7 characters with backstory and 2 without. Since there's 9 characters. Unless
I'm not counting Eris because Eris gets killed off at the end of the first act. So that's 8.
Isn't she like a...
Well, the thing is, they hype her.
Or something?
Well, they hype her up as she's supposedly one of these race. She belongs to this race of people that are the descendants of guardians of Midgard, and they hype her up to be a really important character. But she gets killed off at the end of the first act. So what's the fucking point? She's literally a red herring. She's a red herring that's built to be the best healer in the game, and they kill off the person who's your best healer in the game at the end of the first act.
Which is a dick move. And also, there's people known as red herring. So, oh god, that's a bad joke.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, basically the whole point is that you have 8 characters. I thought there were only 7. There's Cloud, Kate Sith, Tifa, Barrett, Sid, Yuffie. I'm not including Eris, so that's 7. No, that's 6. Who's the 7?
Sid.
Red 13. Sorry, Red 13.
Red 13.
I already said Sid. So that's 7. That's 7 characters. Because it goes Cloud. Okay, Cloud, Barrett, Tifa, Sid, Red 13, Vincent, and Kate Sith. No, yeah, that's 7. Because I'm not including Eris. Because Eris is
the red herring.
Well, she literally, they hype her up to be an awesome character. They give her some of the best healing overdrives in the game, and they kill her off in the beginning of at the end of the first act, which kind of.
Oh, what was the point of killing her off?
I have no idea. In game, they kill her off because, like, the whole point of Final Fantasy VII is that the Shinra Corporation found this dead alien corpse, and then they took some of the DNA and made monstrosities out of them. There was like 3 monstrosities made. There's a really, really good one that like dies early on. This game is built around the concept that that good one didn't die. There's a really, really evil one. That's Sephiroth. And then there's a useless one that's kind of like the turd that's hanging on like a dingleberry. And that's Cloud. Cloud is utterly, like, literally, they were like, we got a third one that kind of sucks at everything. Okay, we'll keep it locked up in the tank. And then when Sephiroth goes crazy because he interacts with the corpse of Genova, and he goes insane and massacres his entire team. Like Zack Fair gets fatally wounded, and with his Buster Sword, he opens the tank and passes out from his wounds, and like Cloud Strife's homunculus, like memoryless body absorbs his memories. So he basically like Zack Fair is the one who had this kind of
relationship with Tifa.
Relationship with Tifa and all that shit. But Cloud himself really, like, he has no emotions. He, like, that's the whole point. It's his journey to becoming
it's like him trying to be Pinocchio.
Yeah, it's him becoming a human being, right? Because it's basically it's a journey in parallels, because you notice every time you run into, like, when you first meet Sephiroth, it's in that flashback, right? And Sephiroth doesn't seem to be a villain at all. He's actually pretty cool. And then as you go through the story, Sephiroth becomes more monstrous and inhuman and more of a beast, right? Whereas Cloud, when you first meet him, he's very, like, stoic, has very few emotions. Like, he just kind of goes with the ride. And as the story goes along, he becomes more and more human. That's the point of Final Fantasy VII. Cloud becomes more human, Sephiroth becomes more of a beast, and ultimately Cloud has to put him down in order to save the world. It's actually, like I said, Final Fantasy VII is basically like a shittier version of Final Fantasy VI. Because basically Cloud is the Terra equivalent, but he's a shitty Terra equivalent. And Sephiroth is the Kefka equivalent, but he's a shitty Kefka equivalent.
I could agree on that.
Like, I mean, Final Fantasy VII is basically Final Fantasy VI with 3D graphics and shittier everything else. That's basically all it really is.
It seems like they're kind of ruining the whole idea of the story with the whole multi-dimensional BS that they pulled at the end of the remake.
Yes.
Like, aren't you just making Cloud's journey superfluous by, making it so Zack Fair doesn't die, or certain people don't? What's the point of anything now?
You are correct, which is why when I heard about the story of this game, I was like, nope. No. Because here's the thing, okay? Final Fantasy VII, like I said, is a shittier version of Final Fantasy VI, but Final Fantasy VI is arguably, like, the best. Like, I would say it's a 95% scored Final Fantasy. So a shittier version of a solid A is, like, still pretty good. Yeah. It's like, this is the shitty version of, like, the best car we have available. But that means it's still pretty good, right? Yeah. Okay. It's not that bad. Then we have Kina and the Bridge of Spirits. Frankly speaking, I don't know what it is. Let me look at the trailer. There's no gameplay. No, here's a little bit of gameplay. It's one of those action adventure games. Got some Pikmin shit going on.
Oh, okay.
It looks kind of like.
Something tells me you did not come to our village looking for forest.
Hello, spirit. I seek passage.
I've seen this trailer. It looks alright.
Could have been worse.
Looks like a fun third-person action game.
It looks like it should be a DreamWorks animated film, not a video game. Because the game looks like a next gen, like second tier 3D platformer. You know, like it's not good enough to be a Ratchet and Clank or a Jack and Daxter or a Mario Sunshine or Mario Galaxy. It's like the second tier, so like attack and Jack and the attack game, Attack and the Power of Juju game. It looks like that tier of, game. Just really, nicer graphically.
Yeah, you're right. It does look like Attack and the Power of Juju, like with better graphics.
I mean, I like Attack and the Power of Juju, but that game had a sense of humor. I don't know if this game is trying too hard to be sweet and sentimental, and not, funny. So I don't know how, whatever. Then they've got Returnal, Deep Dive.
Yeah, actually, that game intrigues me. I saw a trailer of it.
Returnal.
Looks like it was inspired. Yeah.
This game looks like a Souls game with guns and better movement.
Yeah, and yeah, like I said, it kind of reminds me of Metroid and Alien.
Yeah, I'm getting some Prime. I'm getting some Metroid Prime vibes out of it. Except the combat's a lot better. Metroid Prime's combat isn't the strongest point of that game.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's like I said, it's not. I wouldn't consider Metroid Prime a first-person shooter. It's a first-person action
adventure game.
Yeah, it's the first-person adventure game.
I like it though, but
yeah.
Here you can see the use of the lightning alt fire, which is great for crowd control.
Yeah, I mean it looks interesting.
Some parts, no safe.
I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know what this game is about. I don't know what the premise is. It just looks interesting. Then they have Oddworld Soulstorm, which it's an Oddworld game.
In Soulstorm, you reprise the role of Abe Gluckins.
I never got Oddworld. I don't hate it or anything. It's just.
I mean, have you ever played Lemmings?
I have.
I've heard of it.
It's basically a harder version of Lemmings.
Oh god, thank you for reminding me of how hard that game is.
Like, take Lemmings and then combine something like take Lemmings and then combine it with something like Flashback or Blackthorn, and that's basically this game.
Oh.
But I mean, the thing is, like, the thing about Oddworld is that I always liked the setting. I liked the character design. I liked the story, but the gameplay is that gameplay is rough.
Especially the first-person shooter they made on the Xbox.
Yeah, the first-person that game has a really interesting story. The gameplay mechanics are really interesting, but those controls are so bad, bad.
Yeah, I did like the world they set up. It has a weird sense of humor, but it's all right. But again, it's a hard game to play.
Yeah, those controls, the controls for a first-person shooter or an action-adventure game, the controls make or break it, and the controls for that game are so bad that it makes it damn near unplayable.
Nearly impossible.
Well, because I mean, we've pretty much settled on the controls for a first-person shooter nowadays. That game uses a control scheme that is so vastly different from any other first-person shooter that it's barely it's not even playable.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, the thing is, Oddworld, like the first Oddworld I have on PC, and it's pretty good. And Oddworld 2 also pretty good. Hell, even the one that had where you played as the Abe's little sidekick was pretty good. But I mean, like all these games, I think are also coming to PC. Like Soulstorm's coming to PC. Returnal's probably coming to PC. Kena, I think that might be a first-person studio game, or a second-person studio game. So that might be. But everything else is coming to PC eventually. So what's the point?
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot 4. It's about time. Come into everything. It's already come to everything. It's just getting updated to come to the PS5. Multiplayer dodgeball game Knockout City. Now this game looks interesting, but it's coming to everything, and it's only $20. So, I mean, if I'm gonna get that game, I'm probably gonna get it on PC where I don't have to pay for online in order to play it. Cause I'm not paying for Nintendo's online to play that game. Then they have a game that looked interesting to me, which is Shifu, which is a kung fu game where, like, every time you die, you come back to life a little bit older with new skills and abilities. So the whole point is that you're trying to get revenge for the death of your master, and when you get knocked the fuck out and killed, you age a little bit and then come back a little bit better. But there's going to be a point where you're going to be too old. You're going to be the old man kicking people's asses, but you're too old, like Kung Fu style. You know, oh shit, it's Master Yoda. I ain't, like, remember how we talked all that shit about Master Yoda? Because we only knew Yoda from Empire Strikes Back, and then we saw him in Attack of the Clones, and we were like, shit! I'm not fucking... Jesus Christ! I'm not fighting that dude. You know, I mean, he basically was epitomizing the wise old man who can fuck you up trope in every video game. This game looks interesting, but it's coming to PC, and that's where I'll get it. So then I can, because I'm not playing this game on. I'm not getting a PS5 to play this game.
Yeah.
And it's damn sure ain't coming to the Switch.
What's it called?
Shifu, or Sifu, but if you want to pronounce it properly, it's Shifu, which means teacher in or master in Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, if you watched Kung Fu Panda, the guy who teaches the
Attacks.
who teaches Po and the Furious Five their skills is called Master Shifu, which is kind of redundant because it's like Master, or if you really technically it's Master Teacher, but like
that's
the
what I was saying.
The strictest definition is Master. But if you massage if you localize it, it's Master Teacher, which makes a lot more sense from Chinese to English.
Yeah, that's the thing. I caught on to what you said when remembering Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda was a really good martial arts film. The first one was really good. The second one and the third one not as good because the character literally, like, they reset the character for every film. So instead of the character going on this journey and becoming better with each film, they just kept on
relearn certain lessons.
Well, they kept on resetting. Well, I mean, if you're gonna have a series that has the same character and time passes, and yet they literally do not grow. So the character growth from one film has been completely lost in the second film. That's just bad filming, script writing. I know they were like, well, we want to tell a certain story. Yeah, but if you're doing a story that's based on martial arts, where a character is getting better over time, that's what Kung Fu means. It means mastery through practice. Like, how do you?
And that is kind of lost in translation when you look at 2 and 3.
Exactly. It's like literally like Po at the end of the first movie accepts that he's the chosen one, but he's not going to be the chosen one that everyone projected him as. And that's a lot of character growth, right? And Shifu has character growth because he thought that there's no way this fat bastard can be the chosen one, and I'm going to sabotage him so that, like, my master, who's the wise old turtle, Oogway, I'm not gonna listen to my wise old master. And in the process, and the process of Shifu not accepting his destiny is what basically causes his greatest failure from escaping from prison and fucking up his students. Like, like his own lack of faith in his wise old master, and him being a terrible master to the next generation is what made the failure in the first place. So, I mean, the first Kung Fu Panda, really fucking good, has a really lot of deep meanings, completely negated by the second and third films. Which is, like, I mean, I'll say this much about Shrek. The character has character growth from film to film to film. Poe literally devolves. Like, everything he learns in the first film, he pretty much ignores in the second film. Everything he learns in the second film, he pretty much ignores by the third film. It's bad. And I know DreamWorks is better than this, because they made some really good shit.
Polite and hope that he just forgot.
No.
But if he ignores it,
well, the character was written that way because they wanted to tell a certain story, and they were like, it's easier for us to just make this character backslide into being a dumbass. Which, like, the whole point of, like I said, of martial arts is to continuously practice until you become, to perfect your art, right? And wisdom and all that shit. None of which is displayed by this character who is, quote unquote, the legendary Dragon Warrior. It's kind of bullshit, but whatever. The next game is from the Hyperlight Drifter developer. You can tell because of that art style. Very unique.
Today, I'm here to show you the huge, stylish 3D.
What's the name of it?
It's called
fluidity. The game is set inside a giant black hole known as
Solar Ash.
This terrifying anomaly. At the ashen clouds, she can quickly
Looks
cover
pretty
great
good.
distances in our huge world.
It's really built upon traversal.
At its core, Solar Ash is a game.
you
about
mean
movement,
traveling?
And Ray has everything she needs.
Yeah, it's about traversal, you know, moving around. It's about fluidity of motion. The game makes moving feel really good. Like, you know how a good 3D Mario game makes moving around should feel great?
Yeah.
As you journey to save your planet, you'll find
Well,
yourself
this game has
tests
that
and violent
going
conflicts.
on. I mean,
Our
it looks
combat
really
system
good.
is simple, fast, and fluid. Built to empower
Guess
players
what?
and
It's probably
encourage
coming to PC too. So.
Yeah, it's probably coming to
As you
PC, probably
explore the
Epic
ocean,
Game Store, or,
enemy encounters
you
will
know.
scale
So I'll just wait
and
for it to come to
great
PC.
sizes. Some of these creatures require speed and precise timing to defeat.
We'll not be getting a PS5 to get it, because I just
say Epic Game Store is likely gonna be the one, and I'm gonna
Ray
have
will
to
eventually
groan
need
about
to
it.
face the
It
I
does.
mean, like, if you're an indie developer, I don't feel bad about supporting the Epic Game Store for indie developers, because, I mean, a lot of indie developers, their games get fucking lost on Steam. So, them taking the money from Epic Game Store to make sure they stay afloat and can make more games, I'm okay with that. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not the perfect system. In the perfect world, if you make a good game, no matter what storefront you're on, you should be able to make money out of it. But
more importantly, fun.
we don't live in a perfect world
This
now,
game
do we?
is a labor of love for everyone on the Heart Machine team.
Obvious.
We're excited to bring Solar Ash to PS5 and PS4 later this year.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. This is probably going to be a PS5, PS4 exclusive, and then they'll probably port it over to PC next year. And I'm okay with that. Five Nights at Freddy's. It's. I mean, I don't really give a shit about Five Nights at Freddy's, but some people really like this game, so.
Love it.
There is
This franchise. The most interesting game to me is Deathloop, because this game looks like a spiritual successor to Dishonored 1 and 2. Because literally, your character is using abilities that Corvo had in Dishonored 1 and 2. I also like the fact that the main character is a black guy.
A plus.
Any game that lets me play as a black guy, I'm cool with. Because you so very rarely get people of color as main characters in games. So it's from Arcane
Isn't
Studios.
it made? Yeah, isn't it from the same people that made
Dishonored, yes, that's what I'm saying. So it looks like a spiritual successor to Dishonored, and I'm okay with that. And it's also coming to PC, so
exactly.
will not be getting a PS5. So literally, none of the games that they showed here makes me want to go get a PS5. So for me, this is a failure of a, because the whole point of having a game is that you want to get people to want to buy your system. You know, like people showed Breath of the Wild, they're like, it's also coming to the Switch. Oh shit, I gotta get a Switch. There's nothing I really want from.
Oh yeah, this game looks pretty good. Definitely.
I know. And it doesn't look like it's spending too much time trying to sit there and be all like, you know, oh well, this game needs to look perfect. It's like, look, man, I just want to play a game. I just want to play. The fact that you have a Dishonored style game looks like it's tangentially related to Dishonored because the character looks like he's using a lot of abilities that Corvo had in Dishonored, like that teleportation and shit. They're probably using the same engine, but just a lot of those abilities look very similar to Dishonored and Dishonored 2. And I like that.
It looks like a fun. You know, it looks like a fun to play game, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, I like the Dishonored series because the main character was a black guy in both games. In the second game, you could play as his bastard daughter, the Empress, so she was like half black. So you have people of color as main characters, which I love. Because, like I said, it's rare you get that in games. Okay?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'll definitely get this game May 21st when it comes out. So they've probably been working on this game for a while. So I'll get it. And I'll get it on PC. Because, shit, I'm not paying fucking... I'm not buying a PS5. If I could get a PS5, because good luck with that. At this point, I'm guaranteed somebody's probably offered to suck a dick for a PS5.
Games are too expensive right now. They're charging $70 for a lot of these games.
So I'll get it on PC. It'll be $60.
Yeah.
Because I'm cheap. I'm cheap, damn it. I'm a cheap bastard. Anyway, so with that being said, let's keep it moving. Our next little bit of news.
Topic.
Well, news topic, whatever. We already talked about Pokemon. Oh, Stadia.
My favorite punching bag.
Stadia
What did you get into now?
Stadia cannot stop fucking up. They can't help themselves.
Did they kick another studio that they owned in the balls again?
No, but we get more insight into how Stadia was fucked up. So anyway, let's get into this story. Google unveiled Stadia, and this is an article from Andy Chalk. So, and it was posted a day ago. So Google unveiled Stadia in March 2019 to great fanfare with a promise to revolutionize gaming. Stream gaming was hardly a new idea at the time, but Google had the money and the muscle to make it happen. Not to mention a first-party game studio, Stadia Games Entertainment, headed up by Ubisoft and EA veteran Jade Raymond. Less than 2 years later, though, that plan to build first-party Stadia games fell apart. Google closed its internal studios before they managed to release a game, and Raymond left the company as a result. Stadia will continue to operate as a platform with the same free and subscription-based plan as always, but Google will not be investing further in internal game development, Stadia boss Phil Harrison said. A new Wired report looking into the failure of Stadia's internal studio suggests that the outcome was almost inevitable, due largely to a lack of experience and understanding at Google of the differences between developing technology and developing games. Google is really an engineering and technology business, a Stadia source told the site. Making content, it requires types of roles that don't typically exist at Google. From our perspective,
Is that
yeah, I mean that was the master of the obvious right there. From our perspective, Stadia was in a decidedly underwhelming state at launch. The sources told the Wired that there were serious internal issues too. Developers were directed to focus on showcasing Stadia technology rather than the games themselves. And a hiring freeze was implemented in April 2020 before the then new Stadia studio in California was even fully staffed, which one source said developers took as a lack of commitment from Google to make content. Over time, some aspects of the process improved, like access to the development tools and performance reviews that were more game-oriented, but headcounts never grew beyond that point. Despite these obstacles, Harrison said in late January that Stadia Games and Entertainment had made great progress building a diverse and talented team and establishing a strong lineup of Stadia exclusive games. But as reported earlier this month, it pulled the plug on the whole thing just 5 days later. The report notes that the Google Stadia experience is in many ways similar to that of Amazon, another company that has failed to make a dent in the video game business despite having virtually unlimited resources to throw at it. Two sources said Google would have been better off emulating the Microsoft approach. Buy studios, give them money, and leave them the fuck alone. I paraphrased the fuck. It wasn't in this article. I saw that the only way this could work is if Google accepts that we take it step by step, one said. If Google is interested in carving its place in this market, then it would be fine with losing money at the beginning to establish the present. The full report into the demise of Stadia Games and Entertainment goes into the considerably more detail on the matter. You can read it at Wired. I will copy that and put it into the chat because that's going to be a really good read. But basically, it's what I suspected without having read anything. Google focused on building the technology first and not, the games. And games sell a service or a console, not the technology. And Google approached this ass backwards, They were like someone who said, I have to go to the bathroom, I'm going to take a shit, and they literally sit there and go to the bathroom on themselves. They're like, now I got to go into the toilet. It's like, you really approach this backwards, sir or madam. So I don't know what to say about that. Your guys' thoughts?
My face is stuck to my hand right now.
What,
Can
you're
I get back to you
agog?
on that?
Okay.
Because hearing all that made me facepalm.
Yeah, they fucked up already. Okay, Kenoshi?
So they focus on building the technology more than getting the games?
Yeah, and they opened up these studios. They did not have the wherewithal. They hired incredibly talented people to run this shit, and they literally went out of their way to not give them what they needed in order to succeed, and then acted surprised that it didn't work out.
I don't know why they didn't just try to line up game deals and then build the technology around the kind of games that they wanted to present to people.
Because that makes sense, man.
Whatever.
What's wrong with you? Why are you trying to make sense, make shit succeed? What's wrong with you?
Maybe I should have ran Google.
Yeah, man, fuck Phil Harrison. Give me that money. I'll make your shit successful. Look, Phil Harrison has fucked up 3 businesses. He fucked up Gaikai, he fucked up PlayStation, and now he fucked up this shit. Look, listen, okay? I have one business I've run relatively well. Give me them. Look, I've been a gamer for a long time. I could have helped you guys get that shit together.
Oh, man. Oh, jeez.
Shit, how'd you fuck that up? Well, we're Google. That's what we do. The sad thing is much like how... the sad thing about Google is that much like Mass Effect Andromeda had to die so that a piece of shit like what was it called? What was the name of that game? Forgot the name of the damn game. Anthem. A piece of shit like Anthem could live. Mass Effect Andromeda, which could have been the start of a great franchise, was destroyed so that Anthem could get out the door. At the end of the day, it still was a steaming pile of shit. So that's just sad. You know, like there could have been some really awesome games that came out on Stadia. People would have been like, man, you know, I got to get Stadia because they have these really cool games. None of that shit. Just some bullshit. It's sad, man. But it is what it is. So, with that being said, guess it's time to move on to the next topic. The next topic. Terraria is coming to Stadia after all. I remember Jewel was like, yeah, this guy can't get into his Stadia account, so he's gonna... So fuck. Actually, no, it wasn't even a Stadia account. He couldn't get into his Google account because he hadn't gotten into it for a while, and it shuttered his shit. And he's like, I'm not putting this shit on Stadia. Fuck you. Apparently,
I was gonna say that I have to wonder if it was just him going out in rage, or him just trying to get attention that they are not doing something.
I think he was just being a bitch. And I think at the end of the day, money talks and bullshit walks. He saw that check Stadia wrote him to put his shit on their service, and he was like, yeah, money. Yeah. It's like, look, I don't like racists, but if a racist comes into one of my businesses, and he's like, look, I'm dropping $1,000 to have a party in one of your back rooms. I'm like, fuck this guy, but money.
I at least watch him, because if he does stupid, that money is as good as toilet paper.
Let me tell you something. Look, when you got bills to pay,
I know.
You gotta take care of home first.
I was saying, if his actions are stupid in your place, no matter how much money he puts down on the floor, that's as worthless as toilet paper.
I mean, I've had people do things that I wasn't cool with.
So that's the reason why I say at least watch the guy.
I mean, I've had people do things that I wasn't cool with in my businesses, or that I personally didn't agree with. But I mean, at the end of the day, as long as they aren't fucking with my other customers, money. That's the thing. As long as they're not doing stupid to the point that endangers not only you but your customers. Yeah, as long as
I can at least tolerate it.
As long as they aren't fucking with my other customers, because me, like, here's the thing. As the manager, typically speaking, I'm not in the front. I'm in the back in my office. So, you know, people aren't, you know, I do it as
You're the
hell I want.
background person.
Yeah, and I prefer it that way. I'm one of those managers that you might see me sweeping the floor, mopping the floor, cleaning off tables, helping to clean in the kitchen, bartending. Like if I need to. Well, I'm not extravagant. Like, I don't wear suits every day. Like, I'm normally dressed down. So you might not know I'm the manager. So I've had people say some really disrespectful shit to me, and then they find out I'm the manager. Like one time I was helping to bring, because there was a huge party, and this guy was having his birthday party at one of our locations, and like I'm bringing out all these, because they were having a tapas party, so I'm bringing out wings and potato skins and Swedish meatballs and, like, you know, just a lot of tapas, you know, and I bring out, and plates of nachos and shit, and I bring all this stuff out. And someone started getting a little rowdy, and like I'm like, at this point they just think I'm helping to bring stuff out, and they say something really disrespectful to one of my servers, and I'm like, you know, and my server got, you know, stood up for herself, and they're like, I'm gonna talk to your man. You can't talk to me like that. I'm gonna talk to your manager. And so she was like, yeah, you can go talk to him. He's right there. And the dude turned around and saw me, and I'm not a small man, and he was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I saw what you said to my server. You know, look, I'm not going to kick you out, but, and I know you've had a few, but I mean, You know,
Watch your mouth or else.
would you say that to like? Would you say like in order to get a woman to go with you? Would you say that to a woman who was not your server? Like, do you honestly think that at the end of the night she's gonna go home with you because you said something like that to her? That's very disrespectful, sir. And I hope if you do, have a girlfriend, I hope that you don't talk to her like that. I hope you treat her better than that, because if you don't, you're not gonna have her for long. And he calmed the fuck down. But I mean, the thing is, look, listen. At the end of the day, money. Okay. If you really want to control what a company does or does not do, money. Okay. If you support, look, you like companies that do good things for the environment, spend money with companies that do good things for the environment. Okay. You want to know why gasoline and coal and oil are going down? Because people are buying, like, the amount of oil that's being used by vehicles has been going down. Okay.
Which is a good thing for not only the environment, but for other companies that are trying to go into other means of
not fast enough, but it's going down. You want to know why coal industry is going out? Because people aren't using coal anymore. Shit.
They're trying to use electricity.
Well, their coal-fired power plants produce electricity by firing up coal. So, but like a lot of those plants are switching over to natural gas and geothermal energy, hydroelectric energy, where they dam up a river and move turbines, which create capacitors, which generate electricity through the turbines being moved by the power of water. Technically speaking, everyone's like, "Oh, we're afraid of nuclear energy." Nuclear plants, the way they generate their power is that they use a nuclear fusion reaction in order to turn water into steam, which then turns turbines, which creates a capacitive electronic charge, which then powers these massive generators that convert it into electricity. So technically, it's just a really, really, really high-tech way of using steam.
I was going to say, in short, nuclear and electrothermal are just basically using water.
Well, hydroelectric uses water. Geothermal energy is where they use energy from like the earth. I'm not exactly sure how they do it. I just know that they use energy from the earth. It's kind of weird. But anyway.
I was just saying that two of those methods, they're basically using water.
Yeah, hydroelectric and nuclear, yeah. Nuclear is very clean except for one thing. Those spent fuel rods.
Water left over.
Those spent fuel rods are a
pain.
Mofo, for lack of a better word. But anyway. Our last story. Steam Remote Play now, Play Together now works with people who don't have Steam. So people who don't have Steam, you can download the Steam Link app, and it's in beta right now, and play with other people who don't have Steam. So cloud-based gaming is there. It works for other people, but apparently, Steam, Microsoft, Nvidia, all these other tertiary services have figured out something that Google apparently couldn't figure out with all of their money. That's just embarrassing. But anyway, we only have one last topic, which is Asshole of the Week. So who wants to dive into that one?
I'm likely going to be going for the obvious. The hacker that hit...
Now let's let Kenoshi go first this time.
Okay.
Halo of the Week. I think Square. I mean, of course they're obviously gonna milk this game for all it's worth, but god dang,
it's egregious.
Whole keeping people on pins and needles as it pertains to this remake. You should have. Why are they doing? Why are they breaking this whole remake up into parts anyway?
Money. because people
I mean,
will buy it.
I mean, that's yeah, you're right.
As long as when people look, listen, I said this earlier. If you don't hold when people do fucked up shit, if you don't hold them accountable, and you let them get away with it, it never gets better. There are people that I like, but if they do fucked up shit, I hold them accountable, because if you let it go just because you like them, it never is going to get better. And that's the problem that people don't seem to understand. Like, I like Final Fantasy. I don't like Final Fantasy VII. I think it's overrated, but I like the other Final Fantasies, the earlier ones. But, I mean, I can't be like, oh, well, I like Final Fantasy because of reasons. No. I will not just give people a pass just because I like them. That's where people kind of mess up all the time. Well, I like Final Fantasy. Okay. Anyway, what's your a-hole of the week, Jewel?
Somebody tried to guess it, which is surprisingly, but I'm gonna go with the people. I'm likely going with Google, which is surprising considering how much I ranted about Game Freak.
All right.
And you can guess why. I mean, Game Freak, I got my issues with them, but leading people on like they did for several years and then shutting down their company.
Yeah.
That is just an a-hole move.
Just wasting people's time. Because, I mean, that was 2 years of those people could have been doing something else. And they just, no, man.
Yeah, I mean, you moved people, you paid people off, they had to do certain things, they missed family, and then you shut down their business. That is a a-hole move.
All right.
And if you don't think that's true, then you could kiss my black.
All right. My a-hole of the week is not. It's not Square Enix, because Square Enix has been doing this for years. If every time Square Enix released a game that just kind of pissed me off and I was like, man, I hate this. If every time they did that, they would be on the list all the time, because Square Enix has been pissing me off for years. Literally many, many years they've been pissing me off, and I can't let it go. But despite all of that, I'm gonna have to give my a-hole of the week to none other than Stadia. Once again,
I said Google, and Stadia is part of Google, so
specifically Phil Harrison, because Phil Harrison, the definition of insanity is someone doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Now, that's a paraphrase from Albert Einstein. Now, to be fair, my big kind of my big reason for choosing Phil Harrison is because this man has had multiple chances, and he continues to fuck up every time. It's amazing to me how someone could literally do the same thing multiple times and every time make the same mistake, and no one says anything about it. They're like, no one's like, hey, this guy, he keeps on bouncing around and not pulling anything off.
I think my first orgasm was...
I mean, like, how are you going to do that, But whatever. Anyway, Phil Harrison / Google, two votes for Google, 1 vote for Square Enix. Now, to be fair, I can understand Square Enix being on the list, and they get it. They get. If there were second places, they would get the second place for A-hole of the week because, like, there are people. They know that there are people who love Final Fantasy VII. Like, they love that game. That was the game that got them into RPGs. And these people are just milking it and not being true to a remake. I mean, it's kind of bad, but, what are you going to do? As long as people let them get away with it and don't hold them accountable, people bought the shit out of that remake, regardless of whether or not it was good. So, when you don't hold people accountable and let them get away with murder, and you don't hold them accountable for when they do messed up stuff, this is what you get. So, I'm not surprised. So, A-hole of the week, Google, Stadia, Phil Harrison, whatever. They're the A-holes of the week.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Well, the Ides of March are coming, so who's ready for slowness?
Who, Julius Caesar's gonna get stabbed by his supposed son Brutus?
Likely.
Et tu, Brute. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ear. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. But I'm totally gonna have sex with his former girlfriend, Cleopatra. I'm totally gonna do that. I mean, I've got a way better name than Julius Caesar. I'm Mark Antony. Yeah. That's a badass sounding name. Mark Antony. Oh, here's some breaking news. Because of Anthem's failure and the success of Jedi Fallen Order, Dragon Age team drops multiplayer for Dragon Age 4.
Thank God.
Stop.
Yeah, single player.
Isn't it amazing? And all it took was losing billions of dollars on something that no one wanted in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, single player games sell. The reason they keep putting multiplayer games in these games is to keep making money. They want to keep making money off the games because they don't want people to pay $60 or $70 now and then that's it. They want to keep making as much money off of that game as they can.
Yeah, they want to milk that shit.
Because A, they want to maximize profits, and B, they spend way too much money on the development of a lot of these games.
Yeah, but I mean, as a consumer, is that my problem?
That's not, of course, it's definitely not our problem. They're the ones that need to get their budgets under control.
It's like, it's like when people say, oh, well, I want to support this game. We have to make sure this game is a success. Look, once I buy the game, my responsibility has ended on whether or not your game made money. Okay? Once I put down my $60 plus tax, my responsibility is over. Okay, I did my job. I bought your game. I don't have to buy your fucking DLC. I don't have to buy your extended versions. Your job is to make sure the game's worth playing. I don't know why third parties. I don't know why gamers just like don't seem to understand that. They're like, we gotta support this. It's like, look, listen, okay, it's not our jobs to make excuses for multi-billion-dollar companies. Okay, our job is to buy or not buy their product. That's it. Once that happens, my part, I've done my part for this relationship. It's your job to make your game worth buying. Okay. And if making your game worth buying is basically putting in shit that no one wants, like, hey guys, how would you feel about putting a like they did? Because remember they did the same thing in Mass Effect 3. Let's add a multiplayer that no one fucking wants. I'm like, why are you adding multiplayer to Mass Effect? Because we felt like it. That's why. That's what we do. We add shit to things that nobody wanted. But anyway, I mean that's just I just thought that was really interesting that all it took was a multi-billion-dollar failure for them to realize, hey, people want single-player games. Even though a lot of the games that sell are single-player games in other markets, but you know, I mean, just because other people make money with single-player games doesn't mean EA can make money with single-player games. Anyway, so that's the end of this cast. Remember, rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace, good night. Sorry I didn't get the Wednesday cast up, but apparently
technical difficulties.
Well, the recording of the cast was saved to my drive that is apparently dying. So a lot of the audio is lost because there's a lot of bit recording errors. So I guess, you know, I mean, I could spend $100 on audio recovery software and try and reconstruct it, but why?
What drive are you using? And how old is it?
It's a relatively new drive. Well, it's like 2 or 3 years old. It's not that old. But
it shouldn't be done.
Well, the thing is, listen. It was one of those drives that was irrevocably cheaper than what it should have been. So it probably had some issues anyway, and they sold it. And it's good for like photos and storage and shit like that. But for stuff that requires like faster read-write numbers, it just kind of falls apart. Because the reason I know it's the drive is because by accident my Steam, my main Steam
PC?
No, my main Steam install was on that drive, and like Steam was loading really slow, and I was like, why is this? And the reason it happened is because basically when I added my new hard drives, my new SD hard drives, I wanted to put Steam on my second hard drive, but the way my computer reads my second the second new hard drive, it reads it as like a one letter below the piece of shit one, and when I installed Steam, it went to the piece of shit one and not the really good one. So by accident, and I was like, why is Steam not loading quickly? Because I mean, I just upgraded my main drives, and then by the time I figured it out, it was too late. But anyway, it's a piece of shit drive. I'm gonna get a new one, transfer all that data that I have on it. It's not a huge drive. It's like 800 gigs. I'll just install that on a new hard drive because it's about time for me to get a new hard drive anyway, external hard drive. And I'll just.
You should either go with Western Digital, or if you want something really good, go with Samsung.
This one is a Western Digital.
Oh, you gotta watch. Oh.
Yeah, it's just, man. Every once in a while, you're gonna get a bad hardware. That's life. You know. Yeah. I mean, hell. I mean, we got Nintendo fucking making controllers that are failing. So if Nintendo can make controllers that can fail, everyone else can make hardware that's gonna fuck up sometimes. But anyway, that's the end of this video. This podcast. Thank you for joining us. I will have a website, website coming up soon. So look forward to that, where you guys can leave questions, comments, concerns, all that type of fun stuff. I'll get to it in a little bit. It will be the new place where you can leave comments, questions, topic suggestions, all that type of fun stuff. And I'll probably have some contests where I'll have games I can give away and stuff like that. So with that being said, peace, good night, and
Hype responsibly, ladies and gentlemen.
peace.